So Paul.
What's up?
Here we are in Sydney. You're doing a big world tour.
Yes.
And how did we meet? We kind of connected through Gary and our love for him, I guess.
Yeah, we connected through Gary and the YouTube universe, I think it was. You know, just seeing your vids and also Gary bigging you up, and that's pretty much how we met.
Do you reckon he influenced you a lot as an activist? Because he definitely influenced me.
He is the sole reason that I became an activist and a vegan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he co-signed AV after me sharing a video with him privately and saying that it would be epic if he shared it to help us to recruit more people to join AV.
Yeah.
And he did, and he shouted you out and Joey out.
Freely, James.
And Freely. James Aspey as well?
I'm pretty sure he tagged James Aspey.
He bigged up the Australian movement, and then he shared our work, and he told everybody to contact us in order to get behind it, and that was a great booster in the early stages of AV.
Yeah.
You know, getting that cosign really meant a lot to me. It's an extension of his work.
Yeah.
In a way, he's inspired and instilled such great values in so many of us. The idea of education, without education there will be no liberation. That's, I think, the sentiment behind that is, God, it's an emotional subject for me actually. I get really emotional with the fact that he's retired.
Yeah, I guess with me and you as well, like, we know what a revolutionary person he is, but I guess because we also know him personally on a level, like, it just adds another layer to, like, I don't know how much he's impacted, like, ourselves and the movement.
As individuals.
Yeah.
He really supported the right people, I feel, like the good ones. He reached out and supported, so he's a beautiful person. His legacy is forever.
Okay, so who are you as a person?
I'm an animal rights activist. Yeah, first and foremost, that's who I am.
Yeah.
I am also many other things, but that's taken the front seat. So
when you say many other things,
I'm an artist, I'm a creator, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm health conscious, I am someone who believes in many things outside of veganism, I guess, and I want to thrive in many areas.
When you say artist, do you like music? Or?
Music was like my main passion, and I'm an artist in other ways, I believe, too, so I feel that it's something that I'm still in touch with. So I haven't done music for about 3-4 years now. I still feel I still write, I still feel that it's something that is very much within me. You know, I'm also someone who has a lot of sales experience, who I've incorporated a lot of that stuff into AV and the outreach approach that we have.
Yeah, definitely.
And I believe that was the first time that sales had been incorporated into outreach in the way that it has now become common knowledge among the movement that the sales tactics that people learn during their 9 to 5, which they're just doing for a paycheck to earn commission, can now be carried over into this line of work, which is changing the world. And so I'm giving myself credit on that one there, but there's very much the structure of sales and the process of sales is very much identical to the process of getting someone to go from bacon though to you've got a point, maybe I should be vegan.
Yeah, maybe I should be looking into this. How do you think the vegan movement is going?
That's such a loaded question. Better than ever? Yeah. Obviously the best it's ever been, but there's a lot of stuff in the movement that I see as very problematic as well. Yeah.
I guess because it's often said to be the fastest growing social justice movement, or if you don't like that word, just the fastest growing movement. But I guess the more it grows, the more pushback we get as well. And it's like this, power struggle. Like the bigger we grow, I feel like sometimes the bigger meat and dairy come down on us as well, so.
You know, the animal exploitation empire is not even concerning to me, as opposed to the infighting that occurs in the movement.
Yeah.
When you look at what is the biggest threat to the movement, we all know the saying, the biggest threat to the movement is the movement itself.
Yeah.
And that's with any movement.
Yeah.
And we were talking about Gary earlier, and you know, he retired saying that what drained him more than anything else, in fact his own words were 1,000 times more than anything else, was other vegans and infighting, and that's what drained him. And I'm not sure if we learned from that as a movement.
Yeah.
And he's not the only one. There's been many, many activists in this movement that have burnt out, and they're never going to return because of the fact that they have dealt with so much infighting.
I mean, yeah, we've talked about this before, and I guess I understand what you mean when you say I'm not worried about meat and dairy supporters, because I feel like most of them...
the empire itself.
Yeah, the empire itself. But we can change that, like we know how to. But with this infighting problem and vegans not supporting activists, like I don't really know what the solution is, if that makes sense. Like I don't think they can be educated because they already decided that I'm going to be against this person because of whatever reason. I don't even...
We should publicly and emphatically condemn it within the movement.
Yeah.
That's the solution.
Yeah.
Imagine if the most influential people in this movement condemned it strictly, and then it trickles down, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So everybody's condemning it now.
Yeah.
And so it's common knowledge in this movement that behavior is condemned emphatically. I think that's the solution. I mean, I know for one thing, if we don't address it and we ignore it, a cancer will grow. And what happens when a cancer grows? You die.
Yeah, and we've seen it happen to other activists, so it's not like a theory. It's like you're going to burn great activists out if we allow groups of vegans or other groups to try and take down like very effective activists.
Yeah, those who are doing the most are attacked by those who are doing the least. It's a symptom of a greater problem, and that is that, you know, I mean, I just recently saw another activist being attacked, and the post that was set out to attack that activist had more likes, shares and comments than an animal liberation post by a famous vegan that I've seen in a long time. And so the fact that gets more attention in the vegan movement is deeply disheartening, and it's problematic, and it's telling of the state of this cancer that I'm speaking of. You know, we really do need to address it. And I'm placing a lot of importance on this because that is what is going to hold us back, not the empire. Yeah. The empire stands no chance if we're strong and we continue to band together. Yeah. And we don't just protect animals, we protect vegan activists who are fighting for animals. Yeah. Because they're the only ones who are doing it. Yeah. And the ones who are doing the most deserve the most protection. Really. Yeah, no, I completely agree. That's why I'm glad we're talking about this like on this channel, because I understand what a threat it is, and I'm not in that position where people are threatening me. This kind of thing is so common in the movement. It's everywhere. I've seen it time and time again with so many activists. So that's why I think it's such a problem. And I've only been in this game for a short amount of time, so for me to think it's this much of a problem is telling as well. But since I've been in this, I've noticed it. Do you think there is enough support from other vegans, like in the vegan activist community, for activists when something like this happens, like when an activist is being like slandered against? I think there is a good amount, but I don't think there's enough. So we need to work on that. Because when the empire that is attacks vegans, there's way more support. But when vegans attack vegans, there's an amount of support that's a good amount of support, but it's not enough. It should be just as much as when the empire itself is attacking us. Okay, so when you first started Anonymous for the Voiceless, did you think it would explode to the global phenomenon it is today? Yeah, I did. So you're like... I didn't think it would happen this quickly though. Yeah. You know, I gave myself 5 years before seeing that happen. But it happened in under 2 to the point where it's the fastest growing and in more cities than I think any other. It's like over 200 chapters now? It's 476. Oh, yeah. I'm behind. And we'll hit 1,000 by the end of the year. Yeah, that's amazing. And so it'll be 2.5 years in, 1,000 groups. It's phenomenal how fast it grew, but I did expect it on some level. In the really early days of starting AV, can you just tell us a bit about how it like started just from
very beginning? Like, was it just you and your partner, or did you have other people helping at outreach?
Yeah, we had volunteers. Asal and I, we initially got out and we, started the first event, and we got the ball rolling, and we wanted to do video outreach inspired by Earthling's experience, and then we started to add our own touch and specialize it in the way that we felt it should be. And we had volunteers that were helping to make the events what they are. I mean, if it was just me and Asal, we couldn't form a cube, of course. But, then it became a matter of taking this to the world, and so we wrote a blueprint, and we went, and that's sort of where things blew up from that point on. Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, cool. I know I seem way too serious, don't I? I'm trying to avoid that shit.
One of the things I do want to say, like, if you're comfortable with it, is like, you don't strike me as a really big like people person, or someone who really like enjoys being around people all the time. But that's what makes me feel like AV is such a, like, that's why it's even a bigger accomplishment, because you're not naturally like a, do you know what I mean?
But I actually am.
Oh, okay.
I've just become more serious because of the fact that it's not easy to run an organization that is so demanding. So it's just tough, like, I have to be serious about the work that we do, because that's what's gotten us to the point that we're at.
Yeah, definitely.
So I need to lighten up. I know that. It's a process. I'm trying.
Well, it's difficult, as you said, when you're running like a Anonymous for the Voiceless, like leading that, spearheading it.
Yeah, it's just challenging sometimes to be able to just chill out and have a laugh. But I've been having a great time recently with, with the boys here, and
and we had dinner last night. That was good.
And that was cool. And hanging out with us, you can tell we have lots of laughs. It's good times, but sometimes I just feel a little bit overwhelmed by the things that run through my head.
Check it out now.
People often say, like, we have this image of vegans being like, you're forcing your beliefs on us, like we're too outspoken. Do you have any kind of like standard response to this?
Not a standard response. I have many responses. My response that comes to mind is, would you take that stance on any other injustice that you care about? The definition of privilege is to not care about something because it doesn't affect you personally. And if you don't care about animal rights, of course you're going to say that. But if you care about racism, and you hear someone saying that racism is wrong and being very outspoken about it, you would side with them and say that they're doing a good thing.
I guess that's like the core of the problem, is like people don't see animals as victims, so that's what we're trying to show.
The animals wouldn't ever say that to us, that we're outspoken and we need to stop speaking out so much.
Do you think there's such a thing as bad activism?
If it's bad activism, it's not activism. Yeah, I think all activism has its place. Bad activism, no. I'll answer your question a bit more straight up. Yeah, I mean, I think there is bad forms of activism, but I also think that there are many forms of activism that are not favoured but have their place. With disruptions, they're very much controversial, and so people go, no, that's not going to get the vegan message out there. Well, it's not necessarily about spreading veganism or about making people go vegan. It's about disrupting the environment and making sure that people don't just get on with their day in peace while they're contributing to such an injustice. So I don't feel compelled to be a part of a disruption yet. I'm open to it, but it has its place, and I think there are many forms of activism that we may not like, but they do have their place. But I do agree that there is bad activism out there that does no good, but if it's not doing any good, it's not activism.
Do you believe in God?
Not in the traditional sense, not in the religious sense either. I was raised a Christian, but I was never really someone who took that seriously, and I am knowledgeable about Islam and the Muslim religion also because I had been with people in the past,
Yeah.
relationships where they were Muslim, and I learned a lot from friends as well. I've learned a lot about religion. I've studied religion on some level,
Yeah.
and I have a position that is, for lack of a better term, spiritual.
Okay, yeah.
So I just believe that we all stem from one source,
Yeah.
because there can only be one, and we all return to that source once we pass.
Is that like all humans, animals?
Of course,
Yeah.
all humans and animals, yeah. All animals, because humans are animals.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I think there's no reason to create division and say, I'm of this, I'm of this, I'm of that, I'm of that. But at the end of the day, if you are of any of those sects or any of those religions, then, and you're living a loving, peaceful lifestyle and you're consistent with those values, I don't see how it can be harmful. So I'm all for it. But me personally, I'm someone who is more universally minded. Yeah, I'm more in touch with the God that I have in mind, which is in a more of a spiritual sense.
What's your opinion on like vegan dating? Do you have any rules, or like should vegans date meat eaters? Just like generally, what do you think of that?
I'm a bad person to ask this because I'm pretty savage about it.
Yeah.
So I had a rule when I was dating before I met Asal that if after one date they didn't go vegan, I just lost their number with the quickness. And I remember there were occasions where the person I was dating was quite attractive and whatnot, but if they just couldn't get on board with the vegan thing.
Yeah.
And because I was advocating back then so hardline and so logic, I felt like I just, I could convince anyone. And back then, if I went to town on you and you still didn't get it, I'm just like, peace.
Yeah.
The thing is with that though, is it's probably not the best way to go about it. It's tough to just stick to the vegan community for dating.
Like, I don't know, I see no harm in hanging out with someone you like and like just being friends with them and like letting them know that you have feelings for them, whatever, but not doing anything physical until they, do you know what I mean? Because we all have friends that aren't vegan. So like, I don't know, I feel like, and if they really liked you, why aren't they going vegan? Like,
it shouldn't be for someone though that they go vegan. It should be for the animals.
yeah, it should be, but like people start going vegan for different reasons, you know what I mean? So like,
Just saying from my experience, okay, it's really bad to
Yeah.
get someone on that premise, because I find that their veganism is a bit shaky and easily, they can easily veer away from that and become a non-vegan if that person they no longer like. And I've seen it many times. So I think that the education should be there in order for them to get it for what it is and to only do it for the right reasons. James Aspie's take on this is, you should maybe date for a while, maybe 6 months or something like that. And if they don't go vegan in that time, I guess maybe reconsider. I can't do 6 months. Like me, if you're asking me, I can't even do 6 weeks. Because I'm thinking about the time I'm spending with that person and intimately and stuff like that. I can't do it. I can't do it. So
no, I'm exactly the same.
Yeah.
That would just have to go vegan.
My take on it is probably not the most universally sound for everybody, but I think that we're all conditioned to be this way when we're not vegan, to be barbaric towards animals, but
I think it shows like, could you really date someone who didn't have any compassion, any empathy, like any like independent thought as well? Like it says a lot of other stuff about them too, I guess.
Openness, willingness to look within and to listen and to really consider whether they've been lied to consider whether these industries have their best interests at heart, and and to consider how selfish it is to hold on to such a lifestyle, and to just do their research, to be open-minded, to watch the documentaries, So
That's it.
cool. Awesome.
That wasn't so bad.
No, that was cool.